Ladies and gentlemen, there is a moment each night that holds the power to transform the direction of your entire life. It is not the grand gestures of the day that determine your destiny. It is the quiet discipline you practice when the world goes silent and you are alone with your thoughts. You see, the subconscious mind never sleeps. While your body rests, your deeper mind begins to whir, either for you or against you, and the thoughts you entertain in the final moments before sleep become the orders you issue to that powerful part of yourself. These thoughts do not vanish. They are planted like seeds in fertile soil, ready to sprout into action the next day. If you wish to change your life, begin with this simple yet profound ritual. Every night, speak to yourself with intention. Review your day not to criticize but to learn. Ask yourself, did I move closer to my goal today? Did I act with discipline, or did I let emotion lead me astray? This act of reflection builds mental clarity. It sharpens your purpose like a blade. Then, repeat your definite chief aim, not vaguely, but with emotion, with belief. State what you are becoming, state what you are building. Say it out loud or in your mind, but say it like your future depends on it, because it does. Gratitude must follow. Not a passing thought, but a genuine feeling for all you already have. Gratitude is the emotional state that brings you into harmony with success. When you are thankful, even in struggle, you signal to the universe that you are ready for more. And more will come. Finally, see your next day in your mind, not as it might be, but as you will make it. Visualize the conversations, the challenges, the victories. Picture yourself strong, focused, and unshakable. This is how leaders are made, by mastering the mind when no one is watching. The world will not give you greatness because you wish for it. It will grant it only when you command it, first in thought, then in action. Do this every night, and your days will never be the same. The habits of thought become the habits of life, and life, ladies and gentlemen, is nothing more than the sum of those habits. Train your mind by night, and the world will obey you by day. The power of intentional thought before sleep is one of the greatest forces available to any individual seeking change. It is in these quiet, undisturbed moments of the night that the conscious mind relinquishes control and the subconscious begins its work. Most people go to bed filled with worry, regret, frustration, or idle distractions. They carry the noise of the day into their sleep, never realizing that this mental residue programs their inner world. But those who understand the power of thought know that the final minutes before sleep are not to be wasted. They are sacred. They are a time for commanding the mind with precision, for directing the forces of the unseen. When you intentionally think before sleep, you become the master of your mental kingdom. The thoughts you deliberately choose in that final window act like seeds pressed into the soil of your subconscious. And just as surely as seeds grow into trees, your thoughts will grow into action, behavior, and results. The subconscious accepts all thoughts, whether helpful or destructive, without judgment. It acts upon them, magnifies them, and returns them to you in the form of circumstances, habits, and emotional states. This is why careless thinking before sleep is so costly. It is not neutral, it is decisive. The successful person does not leave the power of nighttime thought to chance. They understand that just as the body must rest to function, the mind must be directed to produce. Each night, they choose their final thoughts with the same care a sculptor uses in shaping marble. They do not allow idle worry or aimless entertainment to dominate that final hour. Instead, they ask themselves, what do I want my mind to work on while I sleep? What belief do I wish to deepen? What goal do I want etched more clearly into my subconscious? These are not passive questions. They are commands. Commands that instruct the subconscious mind to begin work immediately. You may not realize it, but the greatest breakthroughs, the clearest ideas, the strongest convictions are often born in the quiet labor of the subconscious while you sleep. But those things only emerge if the mind is properly prepared. Think of the subconscious as a servant of infinite ability but no initiative. It must be given direction. It must be given clear, consistent, emotional instructions. And there is no better time to give these instructions than just before sleep. In those minutes, the conscious mind becomes quiet, less resistant, more suggestible. It is in this moment that you impress your desires more deeply than at any other time during the day. When you repeatedly tell yourself what you want, what you believe, and who you are becoming just before you fall asleep, you are reprogramming your identity at its root. You are not merely saying words. You are reconditioning the framework through which you view life, and as that framework changes, so too does your behavior, so too does your discipline, your energy, your focus. The world outside begins to bend to the shape of the world inside. But the inner world must first be trained, it must be cultivated, and the night is the fertile ground where this cultivation takes place. Think of the contrast. One person goes to sleep replaying failure, doubt, and what others think of them. Their mind, obedient to those thoughts, begins reinforcing those beliefs. The next day they feel discouraged, uncertain, and weak. They believe life is just hard, but it is not life. It is their thoughts. Another person goes to bed visualizing their success, affirming their faith, and focusing on who they are becoming. Their mind, just as obedient, begins building connections, developing courage, and drawing opportunities. Both people sleep, but only one of them is growing while they do. This is not about fantasy or wishful thinking. It is about mental discipline. It is about the law of cause and effect within the mind. What you plant, you will reap. You cannot expect to speak doubt and harvest confidence. You cannot dwell on fear and wake with courage. You must deliberately choose the state you desire and feed it with your thoughts. Repetition is essential. Emotion is essential. You cannot simply say what you want once and expect change. The subconscious requires intensity. It requires consistency, and there is no better moment to deliver both than in the stillness of night. This is the secret understood by those who achieve what others only dream of. They train their minds at night. They use those quiet minutes to reinforce their beliefs. They do not need motivation in the morning because they planted the seed the night before. And that seed, watered by sleep, has begun to bloom by dawn. This is why some people wake with certainty and others wake with confusion. It is not the alarm clock that sets their mood. It is the mental state they fell asleep with. Every great achievement begins in the mind, and every powerful mind is formed through repeated, intentional thought. If you want to change your life, begin by changing your final thoughts. Use that time not to react to the world, but to shape the world within. Speak to yourself with purpose. Remind yourself of your power. Visualize the life you are building. Declare that you are worthy, capable, and ready. You are not lying to yourself. You are teaching yourself. You are re-educating your identity, and with enough repetition, the subconscious will accept this new identity as truth. Once that happens, nothing can stop the transformation, because the world does not change because of effort alone. It changes when belief changes, and belief is forged in the thoughts that repeat most often. So choose those thoughts wisely. Each night offers a new chance to direct your mind, to impress your vision, and to align with your purpose. Waste it, and you forfeit progress. Use it, and you activate one of the greatest creative powers known to man, the power to think intentionally when it matters most. Nightly reflection is one of the most overlooked practices among those who wish for progress but fail to create it. Most people are eager to act, to chase results, to move fast, but few are wise enough to pause, review, and discipline the mind through reflection. Yet it is in that pause, in that quiet nightly inventory of thought and action, where true power begins to take root. Without reflection, there is no self-awareness. Without self-awareness, there can be no self-direction. And without self-direction, success remains accidental at best and impossible at worst. To reflect each night is to take control of your internal compass. It is the act of facing yourself with honesty and asking, did I live today with purpose? Did I act in line with my definite chief aim? Did I waste time, or did I make time count? These questions are not punishments. They are instruments of growth, for the man or woman who seeks mastery over life must first master the self, and mastery cannot exist in the absence of evaluation. You cannot correct what you refuse to examine. You cannot improve what you do not measure. Nightly reflection is not about regret. It is about clarity. It is the daily sharpening of the blade. When you take time to observe your own thoughts, choices, and emotions at the end of each day, you are gathering knowledge, knowledge that the average person ignores. That knowledge becomes power in your hands. You begin to see patterns. You begin to see where your discipline wavers, where your excuses rise, where your energy is drained. And once you see those things clearly, you are no longer a prisoner of them. You are in command. Discipline is not just the ability to take action. It is also the ability to confront yourself, to say, I made the wrong choice today, but I will make the right one tomorrow. That is power. That is control, and that kind of control is not found in the chaos of the day. It is forged in the silence of the night. When the noise of the world dies down, you are left with yourself. That moment is the gateway to progress. That moment determines whether you will wake stronger or weaker. Clarity is not a gift, it is a reward. It is earned through deliberate thought. When you reflect nightly, you begin to understand not just what you are doing, but why you are doing it. You begin to detect the root of your hesitation, the source of your anxiety, the fuel behind your ambition. You are no longer guessing your way through life. You are studying yourself like a master craftsman studies his tools. You are learning how your mind responds under pressure, how your will behaves in temptation, and how your emotions influence your decisions. This practice, repeated over days, weeks, and years, transforms a person. For they no longer live by accident, they live by design. Most people do not suffer from a lack of intelligence or opportunity. They suffer from a lack of self, discipline, and internal order. Nightly reflection brings order to the mind. It sweeps the floor of the mental workshop. It clears out useless thoughts and reinforces valuable ones. It allows you to enter the next day with a cleaner slate, a sharper intention, and a deeper awareness. This is how giants are built, not in one grand moment of victory, but in the nightly habit of refinement. They examine where they failed and where they triumphed. They study their triggers, their reactions, their decisions. They do not lie to themselves. They do not soften the truth. They face it, and because they do, they grow. They are not ashamed of imperfection, because they know that reflection leads to correction. And correction leads to mastery. Reflection builds internal integrity. It builds the kind of character that is consistent whether watched or not. For when you train your mind to evaluate your own conduct, you need no external judge. You carry your own standard, you live by your own principles, you become immune to the chaos of others because you are constantly aligning yourself with your vision, and that alignment does not happen automatically. It happens when you pause and assess. There is another reward in this nightly discipline, peace of mind, not the shallow peace of distraction, but the deep peace that comes from knowing you are improving. Knowing that you are not drifting but steering, that you are not merely reacting but directing. When you reflect, you give yourself the gift of conscious living. You begin to trust yourself because you are no longer hiding from your own flaws. You are addressing them, you are working with them, not against them, and this peace creates momentum. It creates a sense of purpose that carries you through fatigue, through criticism, through failure. Because you are no longer walking blind, you are moving with awareness, with structure, with intention. Others may wonder why you are so calm, so confident, so focused, but they do not see the night. They do not see the discipline. They do not know that every night you meet yourself with honesty, and that honesty becomes your power. It is not enough to work hard. Millions of people work hard and remain stuck. You must work smart, and working smart includes understanding the self. You cannot win a game you don't study, and life is the most demanding game of all. Nightly reflection is the study of your own performance. It is the analysis of your daily battle. It is the foundation of all improvement. Each day you live offers data. Each moment provides feedback. but only reflection turns that information into progress. The person who never reflects is like a sailor who never checks his compass. He may be busy, but he is drifting. He may be moving, but he is lost. Only through reflection can you correct your course. Only through reflection can you become precise in your actions, powerful in your decisions, and unstoppable in your growth. When you make this a habit, you will begin to feel the shift. You will notice a new calm in your spirit, a new confidence in your step. You will no longer fear failure because you know you will learn from it. You will no longer chase approval because you are already guided by your own standard. You will no longer wonder what's holding you back because you are looking for it every night and removing it piece by piece. This is not a ritual for the weak. It is the quiet habit of the strong. It is the foundation of personal power, and it is available to anyone who dares to look within. Repetition of goals is not a small act. It is one of the most powerful methods for transforming desire into reality. A goal, when merely stated once, is like a faint whisper. It gets drowned in the noise of life, forgotten beneath the weight of distraction. But a goal, when repeated daily with belief, becomes a command. It becomes an order written upon the walls of the subconscious mind. It is no longer a wish. It becomes a law, a personal decree of what must come to pass. There is a law in the mind that states, what you impress consistently, you eventually express. The subconscious mind does not argue. It does not question whether your repeated thoughts are good, bad, real, or imagined. It simply acts upon what it receives the most. If you feed it fear, it will multiply fear. If you feed it limitation, it will shrink your world. But if you feed it your goal, spoken with clarity and conviction night after night, it will begin to shape your character, influence your choices, and guide you toward its fulfillment without conscious strain. The mind is like a field. What you plant repeatedly grows, and repetition is the act of planting. A single thought, once spoken or written, barely penetrates the surface. But when you repeat that thought with emotion over days, weeks, and months, it sinks deep into the subconscious where it takes root. It is in that depth where transformation begins. You cannot simply declare your dream once and expect the world to yield to it. Success does not answer to occasional effort. It answers to consistent, determined belief. This is the reason great men and women of achievement all spoke of their goals daily. They did not do so because they were deluded. They did so because they understood that the repetition of a definite purpose programs the mind to act in accordance with that purpose. It clears out contradiction. It silences doubt. It removes confusion. When the mind hears the same instruction again and again, it begins to accept it as truth, and when it believes something to be true, it begins to align every thought, habit, and behavior to match that belief. The greatest barrier to success is not the external world. It is the internal contradiction, the doubt, the fear, the hesitation that comes from a scattered mind. A person may say they want wealth, yet constantly repeat thoughts of lack. They may say they want success, yet rehearse failure in their imagination. This contradiction weakens the spirit, but repetition of your goal with intention and emotion eliminates that conflict. It creates internal unity. You are no longer pulled in different directions. You move forward with power. To speak your goal every night before sleep is to forge a mental blueprint. You are not just reciting words. You are building structure in your mind. That structure becomes a filter through which you see the world. Opportunities that once went unnoticed now appear because the mind is trained to recognize them. Challenges that once overwhelmed you now sharpen you because the mind is focused on a greater aim. Repetition is not just programming, it is preparation. It is the building of the mental environment where your goal becomes inevitable. You must repeat your goal not like a robot, but like a commander, with feeling, with belief, with a sense that you are declaring what will be, not begging for what might be. This emotional intensity is essential. The subconscious responds to feeling, not just words. Say your goal in a tone that convinces yourself. Say it with the energy of certainty, even if the world has yet to see the result. Speak to your future self, and let your present actions be governed by that identity. When you do this each night, you are setting the thermostat of your life, not to where you are, but to where you intend to go. Many people underestimate this practice because it seems too simple, but they forget that the most profound truths are always simple. Complexity may sound impressive, but simplicity delivers results. Repetition of a goal is simple, and that is precisely why it works. It bypasses resistance. It cuts through excuses. It does not require conditions to be right. All it requires is consistency, and consistency is the one thing that separates the dreamer from the doer. Do not make the mistake of repeating many goals at once. The mind, like a lens, must focus to generate heat. Choose your definite chief aim, the one desire that, when fulfilled, will elevate your life in every way. Commit that goal to memory, write it, speak it, visualize it, and most importantly, repeat it every single night before you sleep. This is not about obsession. It is about direction. Without direction you wander. With direction you dominate. There is something else that happens when you repeat your goal at night. You begin to take ownership of it. You no longer see it as a distant fantasy. You begin to feel it as a present truth, and this shift in perception is critical, because once you believe something belongs to you, your behavior changes. You act with authority, you carry yourself differently, you do not negotiate with doubt, you command attention from life itself, you become the person worthy of the result. This practice does not produce results overnight. It is not a trick, it is a discipline, but as you persist, something remarkable occurs. Your old beliefs, those weak, timid, fearful thoughts, begin to lose their power. They are drowned out by the voice of your vision. Your internal world becomes saturated with direction, purpose, and belief, and what fills the mind fills the life. You cannot afford to leave your future to chance. You must declare it. You must speak it into your subconscious until it becomes your identity. Repetition of a goal is the bridge between what you want and what you will achieve. It builds faith, it destroys doubt, and it installs clarity where there was once confusion. This is not theory. This is the timeless method of transformation. And it begins not with action, but with thought, not once, but night after night, until what was once a dream becomes your lived reality every night. The thoughts you hold in your mind before sleep shape the architecture of your subconscious. This is not a poetic idea. It is a psychological fact. The mind, in its most impressionable state, opens just before sleep and absorbs the final messages it receives. Most people allow this time to be filled with worry, confusion, or distraction, not realizing they are programming themselves for more of the same. But the individual who chooses deliberately what to focus on in those final moments wields a secret power, a power that builds confidence, fuels belief, and creates transformation from the inside out. The mind is like a sponge at night. As your body slows and the world grows quiet, the conscious mind takes a step back and the subconscious mind comes forward. This is the hidden operator of your life. It does not speak in language or logic, but it governs your reactions, decisions, and habits with precision. If it believes you are strong, you will act strong. If it believes you are limited, you will act small. And so, what you feed it before sleep becomes the material with which it builds your behavior. The individual who understands this does not fall asleep to noise, they fall asleep to intention. They do not let the television, the worries of the day, or random thoughts of doubt enter their system. They choose what to think, they choose what to feel, they choose what to believe, and night after night that choice compounds. It builds a core of certainty. This is not false positivity. This is the discipline of mental design. You are not pretending all is well. You are rehearsing who you intend to be. Confidence is not built in the moments when you win. Confidence is built in the moments when you train your mind to see yourself winning before it happens. That vision, repeated nightly, gives you a sense of inevitability. You no longer walk into life hoping things will go your way. You walk into life expecting them to. That shift is everything. It changes how you speak, how you move, how you respond to difficulty. And it begins by feeding the subconscious a clear, bold, emotional vision every single night. Before you sleep, you must declare the version of yourself you are becoming. You must speak it, visualize it, and feel it as though it already exists. You must speak words that align with that identity, words that say, I am capable, I am worthy, I am focused, I am prepared. These are not mere affirmations, these are instructions. You are telling your mind what to look for, what to move toward, and what to reject. Over time, the subconscious begins to obey. You notice new confidence in your actions. You notice hesitation fading. You notice opportunities presenting themselves that once passed you by. This nightly habit is not about tricking the mind. It is about training it. Just as the body becomes strong through repeated movement, the mind becomes confident through repeated thought. Thought leads to belief, belief leads to action, and action leads to result. But it all begins in the unseen world of mental repetition. You cannot hold weak thoughts at night and expect strong results in the morning. You cannot fill your mind with fear and expect to act with courage. You must feed your mind with what you want it to produce. This discipline also guards your peace. When others lie in bed worrying about what went wrong, you focus on what will go right. When others replay their failures, you rehearse your future victories. This is not denial. It is direction. You are choosing to live from vision, not from memory, and that choice gives you emotional strength. It gives you resilience. It allows you to fall asleep with peace and wake up with purpose. The individual who builds this nightly habit begins to feel it, not just in thought, but in presence. They walk with greater intention. They carry themselves with calm power. They do not need to prove themselves because their belief is internal. That belief, built one night at a time, becomes the force behind every word and every decision. Others notice, but they do not understand. They do not see the nights spent training the mind. They only see the results. And they call it confidence, but you will know. It was built in silence. This is how leaders are formed, not just through strategy, but through mental certainty. Confidence is not born, it is built. And it is built through repeated thought, repeated feeling, and repeated vision, especially when the world is quiet and no one is watching. In that private space before sleep, the most powerful seeds are planted. And when those seeds are fed with consistency and emotion, they cannot help but grow into strength, clarity, and action. The person who does this every night develops a kind of mental armor. They are not immune to failure, but they are unmoved by it. They are not free from fear, but they no longer bow to it. They see through the temporary nature of setbacks. They keep their eyes fixed on what they are building within, because they know what is built within will soon be seen without. And that kind of knowing is rare. It is the result of deliberate design, not random chance. Each night is a fresh opportunity to speak into your life what you want it to become, to reshape your identity, to break away from the opinions of others and the doubts of the past, to step into your strength in silence where no one can take it from you. That silence is where power is born. That silence is where belief is trained. That silence is where confidence begins. There is an invisible force that shapes your life, more powerful than effort, more constant than desire, more decisive than knowledge. That force is your self-image. It is the silent architect behind every success and every failure. It is the internal thermostat that determines how far you rise or how quickly you retreat. No man or woman can outperform the limits they have set within themselves. And that limit is built brick by the thoughts you accept as true, especially the ones you entertain each night before you sleep. When the conscious world fades and the body begins to rest, the mind becomes most open to suggestion. In this sacred moment of mental vulnerability, whatever image you hold of yourself will begin to settle deeper into your subconscious. This image is not something imposed from the outside. It is something chosen, whether deliberately or by default. And it is your responsibility to choose wisely, for this image will not only determine your confidence, it will command your behavior, direct your decisions, and shape the outcome of your life. The self-image is not a product of external opinion. It is not formed by applause or criticism. It is formed by repetition, by the thoughts you rehearse, the words you speak about yourself, and the identity you internalize when no one is watching. This is why what you think and feel about yourself each night is so critical. You may go through the day wearing many masks, fulfilling many roles, meeting many expectations. But at night, when the world grows quiet, the truth of what you believe about yourself speaks the loudest. And that truth either empowers you or imprisons you. If you repeatedly go to sleep thinking of your failures, your shortcomings, your fears, or the ways others have doubted you, then those thoughts will deepen the grooves of limitation in your mind. You will wake up the next day not just tired but burdened. You will approach challenges with hesitation, not boldness. You will see opportunities through the lens of insufficiency, and you will call it fate. But it was not fate. It was the image you allowed to harden within you, an image that says, I am not enough, I am not ready, I do not deserve, but there is another path, a deliberate one, a path where each night you actively reshape your identity, not through fantasy, but through focused mental design. You speak to yourself not as you were, but as you are becoming. You imagine yourself achieving, progressing, and commanding life with purpose. You see yourself capable. You see yourself courageous. You see yourself as the person you are destined to be. And this image, repeated with emotion, begins to replace the old one. It begins to override the scripts of self-doubt. It installs a new belief, a belief in your own power. Understand this. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between reality and imagination. It only reacts to what it is fed with consistency and feeling. If you consistently impress it with an image of weakness, it will deliver actions that align with that weakness. But if you consistently impress it with strength, competence, and confidence, it will reshape your behavior to match. This is the great secret of transformation. You do not have to wait for success to feel successful. You must feel successful first, and the behavior will follow, the result will follow, the world will follow. Many spend their entire lives trying to change the world around them, while neglecting the world within them. They try to control circumstances, people, or external events. But the master of achievement knows the truth. The outer world is only a reflection of the inner world. And the inner world is governed by the self-image. That image can be reshaped, it can be elevated, it can be designed, but only by the one who is willing to invest in it nightly, not occasionally, not when convenient, but with unwavering commitment. Think of this process as internal construction. Each night you lay one more brick, one more vision, one more declaration of who you are and who you will become. These thoughts accumulate. They begin to shape how you walk into a room, how you speak, how you decide, how you recover from setbacks, how you carry yourself in silence. The image becomes the script, and that script becomes your life. You do not have to broadcast it. You do not have to prove it. You only have to believe it, and that belief will do the proving for you. This is not about arrogance. It is not about pretending to be more than you are. It is about recognizing that you have been living beneath your potential only because you accepted an outdated image of yourself. Perhaps that image came from failure, perhaps it came from rejection, from doubt, from fear, but those moments are not the truth of who you are. They are only chapters, not the whole story, and you, tonight, can begin rewriting the story. Not with action yet, but with thought, with vision, with belief. The strongest people in history were not those born with advantage. They were those who built an unshakable image of themselves, despite opposition, despite rejection, despite failure. That image gave them endurance. It gave them purpose. It gave them power, and it was built in solitude, in the quiet hours when no one cheered, no one saw, and no one believed. This is the moment that builds leaders. Not the applause, but the silence, not the stage, but the night. So each night, when the world is quiet, return to yourself. Review the identity you are constructing. Ask yourself not what others see, but what you see. And if you do not yet see what you want, create it, speak it, envision it, feel it. Let the old self-image fade and let the new one rise, not from ego, but from truth. The truth that you are more capable than your past suggests, more powerful than your doubts allow, and more ready than your fears admit. Every great change begins with a decision, and the greatest decision you can make is to refuse to live another day bound by the image others gave you. Create your own, build it every night, protect it, feed it, and soon that image will become your reality, not because the world changed, but because you did.